If you think that you are too busy to spare time for exercising, perhaps you don't have time, precisely because you don't exercise. It is evident that exercising is important for our physical health, but it is also necessary for maintaining and improving our cognitive abilities and psychological conditions. A number of studies have shown that people with regular exercise habits can enjoy greater performance and concentration, have more resilience to stress, and reduce the risk of mental illness. If you are occupied with work or study, you should actually invest time in exercising to improve your efficiency. How is brain performance related to physical activities? Why is our body designed to function better with exercising? What kind of exercise is optimal to enjoy its cerebral benefits? Physical exercise makes us smarter. In a study done in elementary schools in Sweden, researchers compared academic performance of students who had PE lessons every day with those who had them only twice a week. Children with daily PE classes had higher scores in the first language, mathematics, and the foreign language. Similar results have been observed in studies conducted in the states of Illinois and Nebraska in the U.S. How does exercising contribute to enhanced intellectual performance? Experiments using mice have shown that physical activity leads to increased levels of BDNF in the brain, particularly in the hippocampus. The hippocampus, located near the center of the brain, plays a crucial role in the creation of new memories. BDNF stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which supports the growth and survival of neurons, promotes the formation of synaptic connections, and helps delay the aging of cells. Put simply, BDNF is a molecule that helps grow memory-related parts of the brain, and the best-known way to increase it is physical exercise. Another study on human adults has demonstrated that people who continued moderate to high-intensity exercise for a year showed a 2% increase in hippocampal volume, while those who didn't exercise experienced a 1.4% decrease. The hippocampus typically shrinks with aging, but regular exercise can prevent, or even reverse it. To gain this benefit, you need to perform moderately intense aerobic exercise, such as brisk walking, jogging, or swimming, for 30 to 40 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week. If you engage in a sedentary intellectual work, you should make exercise a habit, precisely to maintain your cognitive performance. Physical exercise enhances our concentration. This includes both an immediate benefit right after the exercise, and a long-term reward gained from regular continuous workout. The short-term benefit involves dopamine, which functions like internal currency within the brain's reward and attention systems. The brain can continuously direct its interest and attention to a certain object, when an appropriate level of dopamine circulates through the relevant regions. Several studies have shown that the level of dopamine increases after physical activities, and it continues for a few hours. As a result, dopamine reaches the core regions of the reward system, making it easier to stay focused. As for the long-term benefit, regular exercising habits have been shown to increase the volume of the prefrontal cortex. This region works as a supervisor of the whole brain. It is responsible for directing attention exclusively to relevant information, and exercising self-control for long-term goals rather than immediate impulses. When you are overwhelmed with numerous tasks, the prefrontal cortex helps you prioritize them, and focus on each task one by one. When you are distracted by a notification from your phone while studying, this region judges whether to react to or ignore it. This critical part of the brain is enhanced by a regular exercising habit. The reason why exercise fine-tunes our attention lies in the hunter-gatherer lifestyle of our ancestors. Whether it was running after prey or collecting nuts in a dangerous wood, it involved physical activities on which their survival depended. When our ancestors failed to choose the right target of their attention while moving, it meant their death. Therefore, the brain has evolved to optimize its focus during intense physical activities. Physical exercise improves our ability to deal with stress. To understand this benefit, we need to know about a hormone called cortisol. One of the major roles of this hormone is to raise the heart rate and blood pressure in response to stress stimuli. Due to the increased bloodstream, the brain and muscles can receive a lot of energy and oxygen, and better deal with the threat that prompted the stress response. Cortisol is essential for our survival, but it also has some problems. Firstly, excessive or chronic increase in cortisol can lead to various harms, including neural damage, impaired activity of prefrontal cortex, and declined immune function. Secondly, the cortisol system responds not only to physical threats but also to psychological ones, especially those related to human relationships, which are a common cause of chronic cortisol exposure. The good news is that regular exercise is very effective to optimize the cortisol system. Physical strain in exercising is also a form of stress, but it is short-term and beneficial to health. If you experience an increased heart rate and blood pressure on a daily basis through exercising, such stress responses are not unusual for your system. Your body becomes accustomed to stress responses, refraining from overreactions and recovering quickly to a normal state. Furthermore, regular exercise reduces the amount of cortisol for the same level of stress. Habitual exercise strengthens the respiratory, circulatory, and muscular systems, improving their efficiency and thereby reducing the amount of energy and oxygen needed to produce the same output. In other words, those who exercise can perform well with less cortisol. For example, those who don't get out of breath when climbing up a staircase require less cortisol than those who become winded, and the former are likely to show lower levels of cortisol for social stressors as well. Physical exercise serves as training to minimize the secretion of the stress hormone. The brain has evolved for movements. Among the vast number of species, only those who move possess a brain. Plant species don't have brains because they don't move. This intricate organ emerged 600 million years ago, to perceive the surrounding environment and effectively navigate it. Spatial recognition and motor control involve highly complicated information processing. When our ancestral hunter-gatherers ran through the forest by dodging roots and branches, estimated the distance to prey, and threw a spear with the right angle and force, their brain had to process incredibly complex and delicate cognitive work. The brain has to recognize the changing environment through the five senses, constantly update the precise position of each body part in the perceived space, and delicately coordinate muscular movements of the whole body. We can also understand the complexity of motor control by looking at the development of artificial intelligence in the last several decades. In 1997, computers had already outperformed human beings in the intellectual activity of figuring out the best move in the game of chess. However, it was only around 2020, when robots became capable of a seemingly simple task, of picking up a chess piece and moving it to another square. The brain has evolved, not for work or study, but for movements. All of our intellectual activities, computation, language, data analysis, and so forth, are merely secondary uses of the brain that developed for physical action. Running in the park requires far more complex cognitive activities in a far larger part of the brain than solving a crossword puzzle in a chair. It is no wonder that exercising is effective for the development and maintenance of our cognitive capacities. For those who haven't had any connections with exercise, even a 30-minute walk a day can be a good way to start. If you want to improve your brain's performance at work or study, the last thing you should do is to cut out 30 minutes of exercise, to spend 30 more minutes at your desk.